Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're excited for this conversation. Last week, we had a great conversation on the Rise Show and this men's circle. And that's what we're here to do, is really share into our own experiences and give people an opportunity to grow in their lives, especially men and even the people that love men and have people in their lives. Like, everybody has a man in their life. I don't care who you are. You had to have a man in your life or you wouldn't be here, even if that person wasn't in your life after inception. So that's what we're talking about. We're bringing this forward. And as we look at the world today, it's like we've got all this chaos going on, all the different things, that are actually an undercurrent through the whole world. And so it's important for us to have these conversations to say, all right, how can we be empowered as men? How can we be empowered as men that also protects these children? Because it's time for us to do that. So let's go ahead and get it started. Thank you all for being here. Excited to move forward with you. Peace.
When I am asked to speak, I embrace the calling. It is my responsibility to make sure to leave everyone inspired to elevate in all aspects of life. In the 26 states and 10 countries, it has been my energy that is infectious and magical. The impact elevates everyone to new heights. It's time to conquer our challenges. Relationships across the board, communication gaps, fear of the unknown, limited beliefs, and all that holds us hostage in life. The path to power is peace, and peace is the power to live by. The unique perspective that I bring to the table inspires all, professionals, executives, students, coaches, and athletes, to reach their highest potential. That is why I, Sid McNary, am known as the secret weapon. Whether it is tackling mental health issues, success in business, or winning at life, every moment counts. Get ready to receive the tools to win. It's time to win at everything. Let's connect today. Peace.
Alrighty. Welcome to the Men's Circle. And this is the Rise with Sid McNary show. We've been doing this for a few years now, and we've shifted conversations from helping people find peace to elevating each other and all these different things. And it's important for us to step into this place for the men of the world and continue to move it forward. And that's why I've got these guys here today, because I know how they're living their life. I know how they're moving forward, and I know that they truly care about humanity. And there's a lot of people leading that don't necessarily care about you. So that's why we're here. And let's go ahead and get them up as they came in to the show. Welcome, fellas. What's good?
What's up, beautiful friends? It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation and continuation from last time. We had a lot of people that tuned in after it was over. So thank you all for sharing it out. And thank you for those that are watching. Love for you to share it out. And you can find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and just continuing this conversation, as well as you can check out Chris's show. You can join Tony on Clubhouse. You can be on Dr. Vibe, has shows all over happening all the time. He's almost on there 24 hours. I'm not sure when he sleeps, but check out everybody, because that's why we're here to make sure that we're pulsing into people's lives. So tell me what's going on.
How's it going, brother? Sorry, I don't know. I was cutting out a little bit because I was streaming to my Facebook and LinkedIn as well. So I think it was just there was a little bit of a challenge. Listen, last week's call was amazing. The week before that was as well. And I think these are such epically important conversations to have as men in particular, because we oftentimes don't have those outlets, because as you know, we're usually told, listen, man up, suck it up, walk it off, and everything else on one side of the conversation. But on the very same side, out of the same mouth, says, oh, but you've got to be more sensitive. Why aren't you so sensitive? Why aren't you this? So you're getting mixed messages. The reality of it is we all have emotions that we suffer. Some people just wave around a cattail like Chris is right now. No, just kidding. I closed my door so mine doesn't come in here. But the reality of it is we all need to have these outlets, these honest conversations, and at times could even be considered brutal conversations. But there's conversations that need to be had, because Men struggle a lot, and often struggle in silence because we're embarrassed because, again, of the whole thing of man up, walk it off, be a tough guy. Well, we are, and we do. And sometimes we struggle in silence because we don't have that audience to speak to. And of course, that the suicide among men is far greater than among women. So it's important to have these spaces. And I honor you, Sid, for not only holding the space, but inviting me along for the ride as well, along with the other two good looking guys here.
Awesome. Dr. Vibe, what you got? Just start us up on this conversation.
Well, happy to be back, and I think it's a really important conversation. Greetings to Tony and Chris, and I think soon we're going to be brothers from another mother, really soon. So I really appreciate that. Thanks to Sid for having that. And men stepping in their power. Really quick 30-second story. There's a business associate of mine, a lady, and her husband has had a 6 occurrence with his heart in regards to stents. And she leaned on me to provide her power, not aggressive power, but feminine power, caring power. So there's so many different types of power out there, as Tony said out there. And let me just tell you, I'm not perfect. So sorry if you're expecting perfection from me, but I'm a man. And I think part of being a man is saying I'm not perfect. And I struggle too. So even strong people struggle. And the last thing I want to leave off with is, as Tony mentioned about the suicide, people may not realize it, but 80% of all the suicides in North America committed by people over 40 years old are men. And the same thing with teenagers. So I'll leave with that and looking forward to the next conversation.
Over to you, Chris.
Hey, what's up, beautiful people? I'm Christopher Roush. I'm the host of the Raw and Unscripted Show, and I'm here to really impart what the other gentlemen have said. And thank you, Sid, for having us here. And I'm excited for this conversation. Men's mental health right now is more important than ever because, again, like Tony said, we're conditioned to be strong and to walk it off and all those different things. But like what I did last night on my show is I came out and I was very vulnerable about my weaknesses and my emotions and my frustrations and my fears. And we have to do more of that. We have to do more connecting and more listening and seeking to understand from people and really having these conversations with people in our local communities and our local friend groups to make sure that people are feeling strong and not being a part of the problem, but actually being proactive and being a part of the solution. So having these conversations and having the openness for people to explore their emotions and their relationships and to seek help and to find men that are strong in their area is paramount right now, because we do have an epidemic that's happening and it's only going to potentially get worse. So having these conversations, being honest, being vulnerable, talking to your family and your communities, getting the help and talking to your kids is so paramount right now. So I'm excited for this and to see where this conversation goes. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. All right. As we start to jump into this conversation, we are being inundated. I don't care what your algorithm is. You've probably seen something about the Epstein files. Like it's all over, right? It's not only in the US, I'm sure it's in Canada. I'm sure it's in Great Britain. I actually am in a call every other Friday with 7 different countries, and they all see it. So it's everywhere. And as I look at this, I don't want to get stuck in the Epstein files because we actually don't know much of anything. They've released 2% of 35 million documents. So we don't really know anything. Yet they likely are worse on the things we don't get to see. So that in itself is a nightmare in my mind. And so as I look at this, I want us to look at, first, how do we start to move, especially as men? In my eyes, here in the U.S., even though we cut off the Iroquois Nation, the beginning of the Constitution, children sit closest to the fire. Grandmothers are around them. Around them are the women, and the men anchor the outer rim because they're there to protect everybody else. And so in this moment where we have this place where a lot of men, as Tony talked about, don't have the space to talk, feel like if they say something, they're going to be reprimanded for being the person that they are, all these different things. Where do we go to empower each other? And how can we move to make sure we protect the kids so we can find a solution for what's going on right now? And whoever wants to pick it up, go for it.
Yeah, I'll jump on and say that, there's a couple of things that you touched on. I think it's pivotably important. Number one, to touch on men relationships. And I was sharing this morning, and I was on another podcast because that's my podcast, iConvo. I was on this morning with Brad, which at least two of you on here know. And we were talking about relationships, the power of relationships, and the quality of your relationships ultimately determine the quality of your life. And I think it's epically important for men in particular to have those high quality relationships. That, you need to have at least one person, right? At least one person, hopefully more than one, that you can call at any time, day or night, to have that conversation, to share your wins, to share your losses, to share the pain, to share whatever struggles you're going through, because we all need that. Oftentimes women do that, right? They call their girlfriends, they go out, or they're on the phone endlessly. Again, nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm not, but they have an outlet. They have that outlet to be able to vent about you, perhaps, or about whatever else is going on in the world. Men don't tend to have that as much because it shows up as a sign of weakness. So it's important for us to gather those friendships, those relationships, create those bonds, and have the people that you know that you can lean on and be there when they need you. But you also have to be that man. You have to prepare yourself to be able to do the hard things, have the difficult conversations, and open up and be vulnerable, because nobody's going to be vulnerable. If there's a bunch of guys, one person has always got to go first, right? And that'll usually open up even the toughest one among you, right? And have those conversations. And as far as preparing for what we're seeing, look, I mean, Sid and I have been talking about this with what's happening with the Epstein files. And I think it was the Netherlands finally made one arrest, and there's a lot of corporations that are knocking people out of their positions and distancing themselves, as they should. But we as men need to come together, and we must stop this, regardless of what the fallout might be. We need to secure our children first and foremost, and our women, and those who can't defend themselves. That's our primary job. I don't give a darn about anything else, right? We're here to provide, protect, and defend. And there's not enough men doing that. And we're unfortunately, there's so many weak, spineless leaders, not just in this country, but in other countries around the world, that are letting us, our freedoms and our rights and our women and children, being abused. And the person that complains about it is usually more penalized than the actual person that did it. And I'll just leave it with this. I saw a story again this morning, which is 10 years old. Yet I commented on it, and I think it's as important today as it is ever. There was a man in Texas 10 years ago, came home to find someone violently attacking and raping their 5-year-old child. The man dispatched that guy, and there was a lot of support for him, but there were people that were horrified. My opinion is anyone that's horrified needs to be investigated, because as a parent and as a man, if you don't support that you would do the unthinkable to protect those who are the most vulnerable, especially your family, then I don't know what you're doing. And you need to really get into a men's group and figure out who you are, reconnect to that masculine energy inside. Sorry for going so long.
Chris, you want to go next, or you want me?
No, I'm seeking first to understand. I want to see where everybody's coming from.
Okay. So first things first, piggybacking again on what Tony said. He's reading my alleged mind, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but that I always say, for every man, do you have someone you can have a vault conversation with? So having that person that you can say anything good or bad to, and it stays between you and that person. And I'm going to put it out there for people who are watching this live on replay. If you're a man, do you have someone that you can call in an emergency at 3:00 in the morning, and they're going to say, "Where do you need me?" Not, "Why are you calling me?" Because many men that I've spoken to, they don't have that person. So building on that relationship bit, I think that's one thing there. And another thing I'm going to just say about the Epstein stuff. The Epstein files exposed that elite men, the current president of the United States, I don't say his name because he wants me to say his name, even though I don't live in his country. People like Prince Andrew, tied to the Epstein sex trafficking of minors, reveals how wealth shields predators while destroying lives. True manhood rejects this entitlement. True manhood is, these people are protecting vulnerability, not exploiting. We want to protect vulnerability, not exploit it. So powerful men, a lot of them fall into isolation, ego, and secrecy. They mistake dominance for strength, mirroring pitfalls like emotional suppression. So Epstein's network shows that, quote, patriarchy as cartel where boys learn abuse and it goes unpunished. So I just want to stop right there, and I'll let Chris jump in.
Yeah, no, I love what you guys are saying, and it really is paramount. We're all honing in on that central message of having communication and having trusting relationships. And you're right. So many men are living in isolation, and they're living with that bravado, not wanting to appear weak or vulnerable or anything like that. Me personally, I'm known in my circle for that guy that has those conversations that we get together and they want to talk about cars. I'm like, so what's going on with your son? How are things going with his emotional well-being? How are things going on with your emotional well-being? And I think it's important for us more than ever to be having those conversations and creating a safe space to have those, and really setting up the initial expectation. Like, hey man, I want to have you guys over and I want to have a heart-to-heart conversation about parenting. I want to have a heart-to-heart conversation about men's mental health and what we can do for ourselves, most importantly, because so often I see when I talk to people, they're like, well, it's their job and they should be doing that. And this is, and shoulda, coulda, woulda, as opposed to saying, okay, where am I at today? How's my mental health? And even for one, I'll raise my hand. It's on my list, therapy. And I know for myself, I have great people in my life that I can speak with, but I also know it's important to go talk to a third party person and be able to say, okay, I'm freaking out about AI. I'm freaking out about what's going on. Help me understand that. And by doing that, when I talk to my male friends, they're like, you're doing that? I'm like, yeah, like, Chris, you seem so strong and you're always so positive and you're this and you're that. I'm like, you see me for a minute, but you don't see what's going on and hear what's going on inside of my head. And so I'm aware of that. I'm aware that I have a responsibility to not only myself, but to my 9-year-old son, to my wife, and to the people that watch my show, to be open and be vulnerable. And that's why I did that last night on my show, is I talked about my emotions and my fears and that not every day is a great day. And I do have negative thoughts. And by doing that, people reached out to me and they're like, I had no idea. So that honesty and that transparency and that willingness to be a part of the solution, no matter how small it potentially might be, we can do that. That's crazy. My camera just, I'm blowing up the internet. That's so
Are you
weird.
censoring yourself? You don't have to censor yourself, buddy. You're good.
That is so weird. It just, there we
There
go.
you are.
I didn't even touch anything. But yeah, so that's my point in realizing, to have those conversations and to inspire other men to be able to do that. And especially with our kids, having, looking and knowing what it is that they're experiencing, because my son came home from school the other day and he was talking about something. I said, where did you see that? And he goes, oh, there was a kid at school with a phone. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we can control the situations here, but what are they being exposed to there? So again, it's that conversation and that personal responsibility to really check in with our values and our morals and our ethics and say, no, enough is enough. What can I do in my local community with my school and my city council? And that's what me and my family are doing.
Can I jump in there for just 1 sec as well? Oh, darn. I speak with my hands a lot, so my camera will go all over the place. So a couple of things. Number one, I want to make sure that we're not disparaging anyone, that even though there's a lot of anger towards one particular person or another, I want to make sure that we're not making people guilty before proven innocent, because that's been happening a lot. Right. And everyone's innocent until proven guilty. There's certain things, and let's just keep that in mind and not go after any one person in particular, because this is obviously across the board. This is not political. This is more of the oligarchy. This is more of the extreme wealth, where people don't know what else to do, so they start doing dumb shit and sell their souls or whatever else. So we're going to leave it at that. The other thing that I wanted to say is, I think it's epically important as men, at the very least. People say, well, what can I do? What can I do? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. Number one, you could run for public office. There's plenty of empty seats in at low level seats across the country that are sitting empty, whether it be your school board, whether it be at the lower levels of government, because that's where things start. That's where the groundswell starts. So we need to get more involved. And then the other thing, the least we can do, and I'm not telling everybody, gather your arms and let's go fight. And at some point that might be necessary. And I'm not going to, say one thing or another against what that might look like. But the one thing we can at the very least all do is we can speak about it. We can use our voices, because when evil prevails, when good people stand by and do and say nothing. So at the very least, we need to have these honest conversations with ourselves, with other men, with other women, with people that because we must fight back. This cannot be allowed to go. And I will say, I had a great conversation with my son yesterday.
All right, man. You said 1 second.
I'll leave there. I'm proud of them, but and we'll go that way again. Sorry, I meant a minute.
And we actually need guys like that. Like,
yeah,
not because we're actually making someone wrong, but to have checks and balances. Like, if we don't have friends that can actually tell us, hey, you just ran over, or you're complaining about this, that, or the other, but you're actually doing it, whatever that may be. I think that's that's why I wanted to gather people that I trust. Like, all right, let's start having conversations where we can get people together, whether it's the retreats or all the different things, bringing guys together to keep us moving forward. And the topic of men are wondering how to stand, I think that's part of it. Like, really looking at, okay, do you have people in your circle that you trust to tell you when you got mud on your face so that you can get it off and then clean things up? And I think that's a big thing, like, for people listening to the show, who's in your inner circle? And if you don't have an inner circle, you actually have a cage.
It's so true. It's that point, Sid. One thing I advise people to do is to have a team. Like, and so oftentimes we have one person, but I talk about somebody that you trust, somebody who empowers you, somebody who holds you accountable, and somebody who's your mentor, and they can't be the same person. And so when you have that team of people, like you said, hey, I need to have this conversation, have that vulnerable conversation, but also have them, like you said, the checks and balances to be able to sit there and say, okay, if my life were a movie, what would you be screaming at the screen? And I've had those conversations with people, and that's why I've had people tell me, like, you're too positive. I'm like, okay, I'm too positive, but understanding what that positivity, how that makes them feel, and seeking to understand. I think it's one of the big things, like Tony was saying, is that seek first to understand. And so oftentimes I see people throwing the baby out with the bathwater, making assumptions, but we as men need to sit there and question our own objectives and sit there and say, okay, am I being biased in something? Am I fighting for what's right and what's fair? And that's something that I go back to as like my personal code is I'm fighting for what's right and what's fair. Am I risking for which that mattered? And is what I'm doing making a difference in the world? And that's kind of like my litmus test for when I say things or I post things or I do anything, is like, how can I make a difference? And like what Tony said, I've gotten involved in my school board. I've started going to my city council meetings and talking to my city council person. We've started a network outreach group with people in the local community to help people. So in those little ways, standing tall and being able to show and demonstrate that to my kid and to other kids and to other dads is inspiring people just in my local level.
Hey, run that list back again one more time.
The team?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, team. Somebody you trust, somebody who empowers you, somebody who holds you accountable, and somebody who is your mentor. And it can't be the same person. And 99% of the time, people say they have one person or they don't have anybody.
Well, the important thing is that should not be the same person. It could be, but there's certain conversations you could only have with one person, whether because maybe you don't agree, like Chris and I disagree on some things. We're not going to get into it, but we may disagree on some things. Sid and I may disagree on some things. Dr. Vibe and I may disagree on some things, even though we've just recently met. But the reality of it is I may have a conversation with Chris that I won't have with Sid, and vice versa. So you need to have that person that's appropriate to have that conversation with. And a couple of things. Number one, most people listen to respond, not to understand. And we need to train ourselves to listen to understand before we respond. And what you said is great. And the way I say it is the circle. If you look around your circle and the people that you see aren't inspiring you, aren't challenging you, aren't elevating, aren't you pushing to have you do better, aren't calling you out on your bullshit, you don't have a circle, my friends. You have a cage. You're being held down instead of lifted up. So look around your circle, analyze, fire, hire, demote, and promote accordingly. You are the CEO of your life.
I would say that when I think about this space of listening has nothing to it. It's just listening. And if you don't have people in your life that can just listen without thinking they need to give you advice, without thinking all these different things, just generously listen to you, you got a problem, because you're never actually being heard. And eventually that piles up. That'll pile up, and that's a recipe for disaster. And as Dr. Vibe said, as men, that leads to a place that can be pretty dark. And most men don't try to commit suicide. They do it. When they get to that point, it isn't a try to. Like people say, oh, I tried to commit. Okay, great. Like, you tried to commit suicide. Thank you for still being here, because you tried. But if you did, you're gone, and now you left the world with all the catastrophes left behind. So it's a different deal. And men don't try; they typically go do something.
Yeah, and I gotta jump in and say this, and while this may not fit every single situation, I'm very well aware of that, because there will be backlash to the comment that I'm going to make. So again, there are situations that are different, but for the large part of it, it is a cowardly act, because what you do is you magnify your own pain. You may say nobody cares, nobody loves me, whatever, but all you're doing is you're magnifying your own pain. Whatever you're trying to run away from, you're magnifying your own pain by 100, and you're force feeding it to everyone who's left behind. So don't do that. Handle your shit. Reach out. There's somebody out there willing to help. There's 800 numbers. Call somebody. Hell, reach out to me or Sid or Chris or Dr. Vibe on social media if you're struggling that bad. We're all paid coaches and speakers and everything else, but we'll take some time to speak to you, to calm you, to bring you back down, to help you find the help that you need. Reach out. There's always someone in the world willing to help you, because you're not alone. We all deal and fight these same battles, these same demons, all the same. There's like 10 problems throughout the world, just varying degrees of the same problem. That's why we can all, and we should all, be able to come together.
I just want to jump in, and this is really good conversation. One of the things that really breaks my heart is when a man says, I'm going through a struggle, but I didn't want to reach out.
Didn't want to bother you.
Yeah. Or you're busy. I said, how do you know I'm busy if you didn't reach out? You're making an assumption. That just breaks my heart when I hear that, because even strong men struggle. Like, I had a situation about 2 weeks ago. I was going through a real challenging time. This was really open. And I had to do a presentation in front of 35 men. And at the end of it, I asked, is there any, does anyone want us to say some words of either prayer, of empowerment, etc.? And the last gentleman said, you know what? I'm going through a lot of challenges with my family. My child is ADD, etc. And he said, I don't want to cry, so I'm going to stop here. And I said, don't stop. He said, no. So through my challenging time that I had coming before that, I began to cry, and I shared with you, Joan, I'm going through a really challenging time right now, and that what you guys here are doing for me, you don't know how much it means for me to be in front of you on a Saturday morning at 7:00 in the morning, where you could be somewhere else. And I just began to cry, and all of them came over and just gave me words of empowerment, and it just released, like it took a book out of my backpack, that moment. And yes, I did it for myself, but I'm speaking that other gentlemen say, you know what? I can do that. I'm not afraid to just let it out in a safe and brave place where no one's going to be judgmental. So I just wanted to share that moment.
Yeah. And here's the thing as well. So the lesson here, what I think I'd like to tell everybody is reach out to some of your strong friends and say, hey man, how you doing? Just wanted to reach out, see how you're doing, if everything's good, if you want to talk, or maybe you say, hey, listen, I want to talk. And the other thing is recognize what that call for help might be. Hey, man, how you doing? That's it. If you get that call from somebody, don't ignore it. Reach out, because they're reaching out for a reason. And the other thing, and I shared that this morning as well, and I've made it a habit of doing this, when someone comes to my mind, I think of someone, I do the best I can to pick up the phone and call them. And 7 out of 10 times they're like, dude, I was just thinking about you. Well, there's a reason that they came to your mind. Either you need to speak to them or they need to speak to you. And that is a very different meaning, by the way. So when someone comes to your mind, reach out. If you're struggling, reach out to one of your brothers. We've all got them, except you never peel the onion back that far because you want to be tough. Maybe it's about vulnerability and letting them know. I tell people all the time, they say, oh, dude, you're lucky. You have this life. I said, dude, it's not all, remember that social media is a highlight reel of people's lives.
Oh yeah.
So it's important to recognize that. And I tell people all the time, I don't have the perfect life. I have a good life. I've struggled for it. I've fought more battles than a lot of people that I know. Right. I have a really good marriage. Is it perfect? No, nobody's perfect. If somebody says that their life is perfect, that's when you really need to dig in, because chances are they're struggling, but they're hiding behind something. So anyway, there's my thoughts on that.
I just want to add another quick little story. So my dad's still alive. Thank goodness for that. And he can tell when I'm not collaborating right. And he's in another country right now. But he sent me a message the other day that I just want to share. He said, keep hope alive in regards to Jesse Jackson's passing. But he said, please remember that you are loved, needed, and always appreciated.
It's beautiful.
So just hearing that message from him, my dad, that just like bowed me up and said, you may be lonely, but you're not alone. That's if you make that choice. So I just wanted to add that.
I think also something that just came up as you all were sharing, there's something to the space of saying, I don't know, and being okay with that. Like, I don't know what's bothering me. I don't know how to fix you. Like, it's okay. It's okay not to know, because in the not knowing, something will come. And I think so much people think they know how to get themselves out of a moment, and you don't. Because if you knew, especially if you know me, I don't have any dumb friends. That just is what it is. Like, there is no, I'm not even going to say the name. I almost did. I almost went there. I don't have dumb friends. And so with that being said,
I'm sitting right here.
if you knew the problem, you'd already be out of it. That's it. So stop thinking you know something, and that humbling of just saying I don't know opens the door for you to receive what you are looking for. And I think that's just so important. And especially when I go to people and I'm like, hey, I got something to talk about, but I just need you to listen. If you start talking to me, I'm going to assume you're dumb, and we ain't going to be friends very long. If I say I need you to listen, it's just that. Just listen. Don't get me to fix it. This is just something. That's why the other day when I rolled down my window, a random stranger walking through the parking lot and said, hey, I got something I need to share. And he just listened. Because one, it would caught him off guard. And I knew it was going to catch him off guard. He's like, who's this stranger that's about to open up to me? And then he said, hey, I'm about to go to a meeting. You want to come with me? Like, it opened that door, and it had nothing. He didn't try to fix me. He was just like, here's the solution. I'm heading to a meeting. And that was my first AA meeting ever in my life after being sober 19 years. Sometimes you just got to shut up and say, I don't know.
Like that. I like that.
Well, the reality of it is, it doesn't matter how much you know. Right. First of all, I love the old quote that says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Number one. And number two, the only thing I really know is that I don't know what I don't know. That's all I really know. Right. So I walk into a conversation. I walk in and look, I judge. We all judge. Anybody who says they don't judge is full of it. Yet when you're going into a conversation with someone, you've got to set judgment aside, because if you're judging someone, you can't help them. So you're there to just listen, not to critique, not just listen. Because there's enough critics. And by the way, they've never built any freaking monuments to critics. There's enough critics. There's plenty of people out there that are going to look to critique. That they can find dirt. Anybody can find dirt on anyone. Be the person that finds the gold in that very person, because maybe you're the only one that's ever tried to do it. And they forgot that they've got that in them. And we've all got gold in us, right? Be the person that finds the good in people, not just the bad.
It's true. I mean, it goes back to what you're saying, Tony, about the fact that, where our focus goes, our energy flows. And things that I've been helping men with a lot lately is the fact that they're so focused on one aspect of the conversation that they're allowing that to infiltrate their lives, and they're allowing it to spread out into their families, with their relationships with their kids, with their relationships with their friends, relationships with their customers, because they're so focused and they're so angry, yet they're not processing that anger in a healthy manner. And then they're going to their short-term gratifications. They're finding that their addictions are spiking because they're just trying to find some way to relieve that pressure. And I think that's why it's so important to be able to go to that third party person and be able to have those conversations. That's why I shared that I'm seeking out therapy as well. And people have said, I've tried therapy and that didn't work. And the thing I always say to that is you need to find a different therapist, because I've been to therapy throughout many times in my life. I show it as a sign of weakness. It's one of the reasons why I'm still here. And there have been times where I found therapists that weren't necessarily the best, but I found another therapist. And just because that person was able to ask me a question and get me to think about something a little bit differently, because my focus was so here, they were able to distract me for a second and say, okay, how about if you focus here? And one of the things that I've done successfully for myself and for some other people in my life is inviting people to have a digital detox from what it is that they're focusing. Because so many people are, I have to watch the news, and they're getting so frustrated. But when I ask them, I said, okay, what's the result of that? What is the action that you're taking? What is the implementation of what it is that you're doing to help reduce that for other people? And that's why I was so excited to be here for this, and to be a light to say, hey, listen, we don't know all the answers. And in that vulnerability, in that space, is so much of an opportunity to grow, and so much of an opportunity for Sid, like you said, peace. Like for me, peace has always been an objective in my mind. And what I found with finding peace is being able to sit there and say, okay, bitching about it, complaining about it, pointing fingers, finding people to give me confirmation bias, all that stuff isn't healthy for me. But being able to sit there and say, okay, how can I look at the situation from just a little bit of a different perspective? And back to the conversation of the files and whatnot, it's so important for us to sit there and use our voting rights, use our purchasing rights, use our collective rights to be able to stand up and say, no, we're not going to do this. And I see that that's happening in this country, and I see that happening in the world. I see it happening with the younger generation, and I advocate for that. So I think us participating in the solutions and standing tall and doing these things will start to slowly bring about that strength and that confidence that I think a lot of men are desperately seeking through their identity that they're not really truly being fulfilled in. What do you guys think?
And and the reality is that masculinity has been under attack for as long as I can remember. And I think a lot of the problems that we're dealing with in the world is because we are at a deficit of masculine men. And
what's a masculine man? What's a masculine man in your eyes?
That could be a conversation for another day, because we're not going to have.
Give me the short window. What is a masculine man?
15 seconds.
Well, I'll just say this: that I'll use this time to go the other way and say that there is no toxic masculinity. That's a construct of people that are too afraid of their own shadows. That's a construct of, really, in many cases, the feminist movement, which, by the way, is dead in my opinion, because if the feminist movements are supporting the drag community or the trans community, and voting for Woman of the Year being a man and all that stuff, then that just means to me that the majority of the feminist movement is dead. And masculinity having been attacked, a masculine man does what he needs to do when he needs to do it. And I got to have a new perception of peace, thanks to Sid, is, the only way to stop a bad person is a good person willing to do bad things, oftentimes, majority of the time. And I think that's where a lot of that comes in, and someone that's willing to hold the line to fight for what's right and not just cower every single time that something goes sideways. I heard a quote this morning that was from Jamie Dimon.
I think Chris might be trying to give you a signal, but go keep.
He might be. He's trying to cancel.
My camera is giving me shit.
But I heard a quote this morning from Jamie Dimon that somebody shared, and I don't know if this is it verbatim, but this is great. It's more relaxing to tackle or attack a problem than just to worry about it. Right? Because oftentimes that's what we do. We worry about a problem. We're worried about what's happening in the world. Well, what can you do about it now? At the very least, you can go speak about it. You can go and have conversations, go talk to your congressman, your senator, or whatever. If it's a problem at work, you go and you deal with the problem instead of running from it. And I think that's masculine energy, is running towards the fight, not running away from it. Having the difficult conversations, not avoiding them. I think that's part of it. But again, that's a big topic, Chris, that I'm happy to engage in another time, but I don't think it's the right place right now because we've only got 20 minutes.
I will say that, and I'm gonna come to you, Dr. Vibe, that the one thing that hits for me, my grandma, I'm gonna share the story. We were sitting and I took her out to get ice cream. We were sitting in the mall and having ice cream, and some kids walked by and they had their pants halfway down their butts. And so I shared with my grandmom, I said, that really, I don't think these kids understand that. They likely don't know that the reason why people wore their pants halfway down their butts was because they were in jail and they were actually trying to attract another man. And she was like, grandson, that's interesting. But why does that bother you? And I think that's an important thing when I look at being a masculine man or a feminine man. Like any of these things that bother you, it's only bothering you because it's bothering you on the inside. Heal yourself and you won't be such a bother anymore. Most people freak out about these things that they're upset about this, that, or the other, because somewhere, and that's why I love when people share their things they're pissed off about the world. And I'm like, all right, so when is this going to show up that I can see what's happening inside of you that you're freaking out over these things? Are you eating children? Are you a bother to women? What are these things that really actually is touching you? Or is it that you haven't done enough yourself to be okay with this thing that's happening over there? And I think that's such an important space, especially when I think of the guys that are in my life. Sometimes you just got to turn the mirror back around and look at yourself, because it's all a mirror. We're all 70-something% water. When I look in water, there's a big lake outside of my house. If I walk down there right now, I'm going to see my face, not Dr. Vibes or Chris's or Tony's. I'm going to see my face. So every time I look at any of you, if you piss me off, I'm actually looking in the mirror of myself. Mm-hmm. What is it that you haven't healed about yourself?
Yeah.
So you can stop throwing it out on everybody else in the world.
Yeah. I'll just piggyback on that. And that to me, Sid, is part of the definition of peace. Knowing yourself, knowing what you're good at, knowing what you're not good at, and being able to admit it and act upon it. Right. So these days, I can only speak for myself. I'm all into getting to do things in life, not got to do things. So coming on here and hanging out with you guys, that's a get to, because not only is it helping me, I hope I'm giving some stuff to help other people, but I also will take it outside of this conversation. And I know a conversation down the line, I'll be able to share some of the wisdom that's been shared here to help someone else, male, female, young, old, etc. But having that peace is part of being masculine and knowing when to use it. And there's also times where you have to use aggression or assertion, but that's part of that makeup. The masculine conversation, that's another week. I just wanted to touch on that lightly, but we'll just leave that here. But having that peace, and I think all of us here, we pretty much have a good sense of peace. It can be improved on, but what is it like for a man to be around another man that has peace?
It's peaceful.
Like another quick story. A number of years ago, I was at my dad's house and we were hanging out, and he brought out this envelope. He said, son, this is my will. And he said, I don't owe anybody anything. That to me is peace. Peace in his relationships, peace with his family, peace financially. And that moment has ringed in my head. That's something that I want to aspire to, that moment. So that's peace, and also a form of masculinity for me. Just wanted to share that story.
I got to share my father, because you remember.
Okay.
And you sent me this message about trolls, and he said, I'm not a, what did he say on your show? He said something like, I'm not really on Facebook. I'm a troll or something like that. It was the funniest thing. But the thing about, he said to me once, and this is when I recognized that I was at peace. He said, son, are you ready to give my speech at my funeral? This was like 6 years ago. And I said, yeah, man, I got you. Like, and he was just like, all right, cool. And we just kept flowing. We didn't hesitate. It was nothing. It wasn't resistance. It was just like, are you ready to speak at my funeral? And I said, yeah. Now, since then, over these 6 years, like I've been in the shower, my brain will just be like, oh, you got to say this at the funeral. So I know my father enough to know the scientist of him is, I'm going to plant the seed and you're going to be ready. Like he already did that. Like he set me up for, okay, start thinking about it, because I'm closer, as he would say, I'm closer to the end than the beginning. So be ready for it, and you'll be at peace when it comes, because you will do everything you would have, as we've talked about it, like everyone in his family except for his brother, like mother, father, sister, brother, sister, everybody's gone except for my Uncle Romeo. And he's like, you'll always be okay if you if you do what you need to do where you are. So when the time comes, you've already done what you needed to do, but you won't be. And that, I think that's important for, like, when I look at, we kind of put the Epstein files in here almost as like clickbait, but at the same time, so we can have this conversation of all the crap that's going on. Are you doing what you need to do in your life so that you would be okay with the fact that the other part of the world is screwing up? If you're not okay with it, there's a problem inside of you and you need to figure it out. Go ahead, Chris.
How that's my question for you. I put it out to the audience. How do you guys, and this is one of the things I really wanted to learn from you guys. How do you guys stay grounded with all the chaos and everything that's going on? I know that my recent thing has been sim racing. Like, I have found that when I get on and I just drive, it allows me not to think about anything else. It gives my mind a little bit of a distraction and a break to process things. But how do you guys stay grounded in the chaos and everything that you got coming in? What are your filters and ways you're able to decompress?
If I can just jump in, because I wanted to say something to what was being said before, and I can weave it right into this. So the comment that came to mind, even when the whole masculinity conversation is, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, right? It's about being prepared to do what you need to do when you need to do it, whatever that looks like. Fixing stuff, fighting somebody off, defending, protecting, providing, whatever that looks like. And I think that's epically important because you don't fall to the level of your knowledge or rise to the level of your knowledge. You fall to the level of your training. So it all depends on who you are, and you've got to be prepared for whatever may come. And I think that's a big part of being a dad and being a husband and being a man, right? Being prepared for what may come. And that obviously that's not always the case. So to answer your question, what are a couple of things? Number one, I said garden. I have a huge garden. So in the summertime, that's my peaceful place. Yes, it's a lot of work, but I find peace in it. I'm also a beekeeper, and beekeeping to me is like scuba diving. When you're working with the bees, and by the way, I have a bee allergy, bad one. So when I'm working with the bees, I can only be thinking about one thing, right? And bees actually recognize your energy, so they'll respond. How you show up to them is how they're going to respond towards you, which is amazing. And it's a great way to look at life, because that's the way people are. There are people that would say good things about me. There are people that say bad things about me. You know what? I encourage you, maybe you need to believe both, because the version of me that they got depends greatly on the version of them that showed up. Aside from that, I'm an outdoors guy. So I hunt, I fish, I cut trees, I plant trees. So we all, that's the other thing, is we all need to find an outlet to let go of that aggression, let go, to find peace in something. And I find that being outdoors is great. Don't get me wrong. Maybe doing something online or playing a game, can give me that as well. But for me, it's more outside. I go outside to do the inner work.
Dr. Vod?
Yeah, I have some quick things. Before I get up every morning, I say my devotions, I meditate, and then I say, what's one thing I'm going to do today to improve me? What's one thing I can do to improve somebody else? And that's it. Also, working from home, whenever I'm in a funk, I take a shower. A shower is a great go for me to refresh, re-energize, etc. But I try to keep it simple. And also, every day at least 15 minutes, I sit down and I do nothing.
How many? 15 or 50?
15. Oh. Not 50. I'd love to be 50. Maybe, and that's a goal. Maybe a good challenge for me, but 15 minutes where I do nothing. And many men that I speak with, I ask, do you ever get a chance to just take 15 minutes of the day and do nothing? And they look at me like I'm on crack. What are you talking about? 15 minutes? And what we do is we start at the 5 minutes, then we go to 10 minutes, then we get to 15 minutes. Too many men are just like,
when are you ever doing nothing?
Okay, sorry. Have a peaceful moment. Let me put it that way.
Oh, okay. Because it just confused me, because I actually don't. Yeah. It's impossible for me to do nothing.
So have a peaceful moment. Just have that and just shut everything down and just have peace. Here in Toronto, it's snowing like crazy now, but in the summertime, I go out on my veranda, 15 minutes, especially in the morning time where no one's awake. It's quiet, and just breathe.
I like that. Mm-hmm. So here's my answer to your question, Chris. First, I I literally committed to this. It's tattooed on my body. He who brings peace, my native name, Nahi Adanade Nuato Hiadu. So I committed to this in 2008, which back then there were some stressful moments that still came at me because God was showing me how to clean that stuff out of my life, right? Like breakups, all the different things, studio catch on fire, you name it. Let's see if you can have peace through this, that, or the other. Now, because I committed to in 2008 to that, I have cultivated in many steps just having that level of peace. So the way that I have it now is first and foremost, I just noticed I'd lost peace and I'm back in it because I refuse to give it up for anyone or anything. I don't anything. And I say that knowing all the crazy things that there's no way someone would say that I would have done. And I'm just like, yeah, I did it because I needed to get back to peace. The biggest example, and most people don't recognize often that I have a daughter because my boys have been around for the last 4 or 5 years without my daughter around. She said, Dad, I want you to call me the day of graduation, University of Florida. Dad, I want you to come to my graduation. Okay, great. I mean, I was ready to pack the car and go. She said, but I only want you to come if you'll show up all the times that I'm going to be sick later in life. I said, I won't come. Instantly. I said, I won't be there. Hung up the phone. And I did that because I didn't want to commit to her being sick. I was at peace with that. And she's been healthy every day since. And I really have peace with it. You know, yeah, I'd love to have my daughter around all the time. Hopefully she'll see this. Maybe her brothers will pass it along to her. I love her. I loved her enough to say, it's okay. I'll let go. Like, so for me, at this point in my life, I know what peace looks like. So I make the choice all the time, no matter what's coming my way. In any moment, I will choose peace. And peace at 100% means I may be at peace if I have to kick your ass. I will be at peace because I only made that choice to kick your ass if it was the last resort of what I had to do. So in this sense of what we have with these files, put me in charge, the files will be gone. All the things that create the files will have to be gone because I will be at peace going to finish it off.
How does that start? How does that start with such a big machine of what's involved in the files and everything else? How does that start? And how does that with all the billionaires and everything?
What are you going to say, Tony? What'd you say?
Arrests, investigations, and public.
I don't think that's it. See, that's too hard. Like that. I don't think you can do that because the machine is running the arrest and everything.
You missed the third part. Maybe we go right to the end.
Go. What's that?
Public executions.
See, even that. I mean, all of those things seem great. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be at peace with it. I think those are great. But I'm here to tell you, I don't care what's happening in New York. If everybody comes downstairs or out of those towers, it all stops. So exactly right. That's the quickest way. The quickest way is that every person that gives a darn about it, commits to it, comes out of their houses, stands on the street and demands it to stop, it has to stop. But as long as they keep us separated, hidden in all the different ways, it'll never stop.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to, you might execute a few just to appease the Tonys of the world, and then they're still running it in amok in the background.
And that's why, even though Carolyn Levitt said if we prosecute all of them, the system will collapse. I say let it shake and come down. We'll support it and bring it back up if we have to. There's a scene out of the kids' movie, Pixar, I think, Ants, and what basically there's a meeting of the grasshoppers who dominate the ants because they're stronger, they can kill all of them, but there's only a handful of them. They say quiet, and you can't let any of them speak out. They all have to be punished because the minute we let one go and another one goes, and then they'll realize that by sheer numbers they can take us out at any moment. And that's really what they want us living in fear, because those in power know It doesn't matter what your border, how big of walls you have, how many people you have, armed people protecting you, even though you say nobody should have guns. Doesn't matter. If enough people say enough, it's over. Right. But unfortunately, there's too many people that are too afraid to take action. They're too afraid. There's people that are too afraid to even speak about this because it's taboo and whatever. We need to have the difficult conversations, my friends.
Yeah. I think this is a part of the Epstein stuff is it's a true test of accountability. Right. And that's part of us being men is accountability. And I'm concerned that this is going to be not the accountability. It seems certain people are taking accountability for it, but there's some other people are not taking, and especially those higher up are not taking accountability. And it is not a good sign for manhood, because it may give ammunition, rightly or wrongly, for a number of women saying, you guys messed up again. There are some women who tell me the reason the world's a mess is because men are running it. This gives them more ammunition.
I agree.
Well, it's not because of men are running it. It's
weak
few
men.
It's not even that. It's a few men. There's not even 1% running the world. And so because of that, because we don't have the proper thoughts about even our statements about it, we are actually lost. Like, it's not all men, because I know 4 of you are not doing this stuff.
I understand.
So it's not all men.
I understand. But I'm just saying that is the thought process. And I hear what you're saying, Sid, but that's a thought process of a number of women out there. And Chris, right. Chris, I know you coach a lot of them. I'm sure this is not foreign what I'm saying, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, one of the things, and I say that we have weak leaders, is because we have so many people that are soft on crime. I watched the video this morning of a judge that the kid that was 19 or 20 years old in front of her, kidnapped and violently raped a teenager, and he had no remorse, none at all. And the judge took it upon herself to cut the sentence in half because she thinks that the system failed him and he could be rehabilitated, because she took the law into her own hands. We're too soft on crime. And when I say masculine energy, we need strong men that are going to hold the line and not care. You did this violent thing. I don't really care. You're going to pay the price, because we're living in a time that people do things with impunity, or the damages are so light. In Europe, an immigrant goes out and violently rapes a child and gets 3 years in prison because he didn't know, or his IQ was too low, or it's a cultural difference. He hasn't been here long enough to understand. And then the very person that got raped or her family speaks out against the immigrant, and they get more time for speaking out against it than the actual victim, than the actual person that committed the crime. So the soft on crime policies, not only does it reward the criminal, but it re-victimizes the victim. And we need to stop that. So that's why I said we need strong leaders with strong backbones, not just men, strong men and women with backbones that are willing to fight for the people, not for the special interests, not for the people that aren't even paying taxes, that don't belong here. By the way, I am an immigrant, a legal immigrant, but I'm an immigrant. So I understand the plight of the immigrant. I understand the immigration problem more than many.
Actually, you know what I'd say? Here's what I want to say. Again, I'll go back to, we don't know. If we knew, we'd already be doing it. And so actually, if you actually think you know, you probably don't know, because we'd be doing it. So I really sit with that as a barometer of when I want to move forward with something. Because if I already thought I knew, it probably ain't it, because we'd already be doing it. So I feel like we've got to sit there and say, okay, let's pause and really take some time to get into what we don't know. But then on that factor, looking at the places that already have it. Bhutan, they have the gross national product is happiness. Nowhere else in the world do they have a gross national product of happiness. But then go look at their crime. Go look at all the things that are low for them. And they elevated the gross national product for happiness, and then had to even elevate that to keep their children from leaving to go chase $1. But they already did that. They already erased that. So it is somewhere in the world our solution. And most people aren't willing to go find it. They think they know, but if you knew, we'd already be doing it. And I really stand in that.
Yeah, I put it in the chat, but it hasn't shown up yet. I don't know. I can't respond in this chat, which is weird. I have to go to Facebook. But knowing and not doing is not knowing. Write that one down. Knowing and not doing is not knowing. So that means you really don't know, or not at the depth you need to know to take action. You may understand it, but you don't know it yet. Yeah, I agree, Mary. Again, it's really, there are a lot of strong men everywhere, except, like I said, because it's been under attack for so long. We've been emasculating men and emasculating women for generations.
Man, come on. You keep
I don't
saying
think it needs to be a man or woman
I don't
thing. I
have
think it's
people in my life like that.
I'm not saying, I'm very selective. I don't have dumb people around me. And if they're anywhere around, they come in close proximity and leave, because I can't have deep conversations with shallow people. I don't have shallow people in my life. I just don't. I choose not to. So I agree with you, but that doesn't mean I don't see them. That doesn't mean that they're not out there. That doesn't mean that because you don't have them is because you've recognized them and chosen not to have those people close to you. But that doesn't mean they don't exist.
But then if I look at that and I say, okay, I don't have them and my circle's pretty big. Now I need to make my circle bigger so we can just keep growing that and push those people out into the ocean or wherever.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I've been doing for decades.
Well, I think that's the solution is actually bringing people into the circle and either rehabilitating them. And if they come in circle and they can't be rehabilitated, that may be
and in fairness,
call Tony. He's got a guy. Like,
yeah, I don't have all the answers, but the reality of it is the fact that many in this country don't have the father figure, don't have that strong men to show men how to be strong men. There are obviously a lot of men that have grown up without a father that did have a strong man in there, or that the mom stepped up and did her part. But even then, she can't teach a man how to be a man.
I blame the guys. Like it's like,
you're right. Yeah, they're the guys who look at it. The government has made it easy.
Bob Marley always said, if you have to lock your door, it's your fault. Like, that's real. That's real in my life. Like, I don't have to lock my door. It's not just because of the environment I lived in, because when I first moved in here, I had to go break up a bunch of fights. I don't have to lock my door because I've gone downstairs and made sure I've cultivated peace with all the people around me. And if there's children in your life, near your life, that are struggling, then maybe you're not doing enough.
Back to that personal accountability, that personal responsibility.
Accountability.
Right. That's the bigger question. When people ask me, like, Chris, if you were in charge for a day, what's the thing you would focus on? And I'm like, the mental health crisis. And it's with the podcast I was just listening to with chat AI and the doom scrolling and all this different stuff. The replacement of jobs. Mental health and identities. People are so identified with their jobs. We have a huge mental health crisis already. There's more antidepressants prescribed ever than before, and more people are depressed. And then we've got this AI shit, and we got people that are trying to validate their egos and their billions of dollars. The answer's got to be that mental health, and it starts with us, and it starts with caring about the people in our communities and helping those people get strong and having these conversations. I think, it's really sad and depressing in one respect, but it also could be exciting for what it is that we can do. And having these conversations is definitely a start. So thank you Sid, for having this.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. I look at it as an opportunity because the more we know, the more we need to know. That's my mindset. And conversation is the best way to do it. And if men are going to be better, it's men that got to do it.
Yes. And by the way, if you're a strong man and you see young men in your community that don't have a strong man to lead, get involved.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Get involved. Have the conversation. Go speak at the school. Go, take some kids fishing. Take some kids out in the woods hunting. Teach them some stuff. Because we are in a country right now that the nuclear family has been under attack for years and is struggling. So, if you know that there's someone that doesn't have that, step up. Step up, especially if they're your kids' friends. That's a perfect opportunity to do it. Have them come over and have those strong, manly conversations with those boys as you're having it with yours. One of the proudest moments of of my life has been when, I've talked to my kids over the years, and it sounds like they're not listening. But I have more than one occasion that I hear them counsel their friends and saying the words that they heard from me. And man, I got the chills right now just thinking about it. Right? Be that strong man. Somebody said it before. Be the strong man that you want to see in the world. Show up, step up. And we can all do that. And I'm glad, I'm proud to be here with you gentlemen. And I'm glad that you invited me on here, because this is how it starts. Encouraging other men to do this, encouraging women to let their boys, or to find a strong man for your boy. If you don't have a strong man in his life, find a strong man that can be that person. And that's not the person that you're dating. That's not, it could be, but it doesn't have to be. And if you're in a relationship and maybe you're not in a relationship with a strong man, well, figure out a way. So that's my, that would be my.
Sid, I want to make a recommendation. We should do an episode on what a strong man is, because I think that's an important delineation. Yeah. We're in the Cub Scouts, and I'm surprised at how many girls are in the Cub Scouts, and I'm proud of that. And so I think that's
Listen,
that label that yeah. I'm talking, Tony.
Yeah. No, sorry. I'm just engaging in the conversation. Sorry. Go ahead. Speak, and then I'll just add to that for a moment. Listen, the Girl Scouts.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Boy Scouts have the Boy Scouts.
Hold on. Stop. We're not going to give an example for the guys in the world.
We don't agree on everything.
Tony. It's all right. All right. So
he gets upset when I call him.
30 seconds. We're going Chris, Tony, Dr. Vibe, 30-second close up. Go. You're on the screen by yourself. Go.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to this conversation. There's lots of beautiful women here from my Facebook and my YouTube feed. I appreciate you guys. I'm not about labels. I'm about people and the advocacy of what it is that we can do, again, to be a part of the solution, not part of the problem, not identifying things in categories, but sitting there saying, okay, what is the situation that we can all be a part of, no matter where you come from, no matter what your religion is, no matter what your skin color is, no matter what your sexual orientation, no matter what other labels that society wants to put on you. Let's get together. Let's cross communicate. Let's cross pollinate. Let's sit there and say, what can we do for our kids? That's what I think about. Like with the chat and the AI and everything else, need to be having these conversations, be able to sit there and say, how can I be a stronger person for everyone?
Love it. Tony, we're coming to you. Go for it.
Yeah. So I agree. And I think that, again, these are important spaces, important conversations, and even having those uncomfortable conversations and engaging with people that have different thoughts and beliefs as you are, because you only grow if you're in spaces and having conversations with people that disagree with you. Because if you're only having conversations with people that agree with you all the time, then you're not being challenged. You're not growing. Have difficult conversations with people. Engage. Have respectful conversations as well, and seek to understand, not just to hear, but to understand, so that you can see where they're coming from. So one of the things that I know is making a comeback in some schools is debate, and public debate. And I think it's important, because those things, oftentimes the debate team finds themselves having to debate and make a case for what they don't believe in, so that they can be forced to understand why those people believe that. So it's important to just have those conversations. It's important to have, again, going back, it's important to have a group of men that you can vent with, you can speak with, and we've got to lift other men up and lift our young boys to be strong men.
Dr. Vibe.
I'll end it right quick. 3 quick things. Heal first. Confront your trauma through therapy, journalizing, or trusted confidants. Vulnerability is strength, not weakness, especially in the world we are in today. Number 2, build discipline. Prioritize fitness, daily reading, financial habits, and one focused skill like goal setting for dads and boys. And then finally, connect in community. Seek mentorship, support our young men, and foster brotherhood, because iron sharpens iron. I'm done.
I want to say thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Vibe. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Chris. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to see you in the green room. And I'm going to leave it with these 2 things, these 2 thoughts. First, smile. It just changes the energy of everything. The more I smile, the more it's easy to have conversations, the easier things move through. It just lightens the load. So smile often and use that as your superpower when you're walking into any room. The one that can smile through it all usually wins the whole room. And then finally, I'm going to say this. There were a lot of things that were said that are different ways to be. too much of anything is just too much. You can be super nice. And if you're nice all the time, unfortunately, you likely will become the victim at some point in time. If you're too mean, even that too mean is just too much. But actually being mean when it's appropriate is called protected. So learn to be appropriate in everything that you do. I really appreciate everybody being here. I'm excited to continue these conversations, especially with these guys and many guys to come. And thank you all for tuning in, all the comments and all the love. And thank you so much. Let's keep going. We can change the world. It's up to each and every one of us to come out of our houses and be the difference. Peace.
I've been at peace for so long. It seems like I've been sitting all alone. Would you know when the crew is coming through? They're the ones that will make anew. Gotta go, gotta flow, gotta choose the truth. We the ones that will raise the roof. Let's roll up and throw down. Let's go and feel the sound. Good vibes, one try. Can you feel me now? Be you, be me, be free. Go and take it till we bounce the beat. Take it to the streets, make a move the feet. I can slow it down, look in my eyes now. Just like you two want it fast. Spread them wings and make it last. God was the one to erase the past. Time to bring it forward and see the forecast. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Lift your dreams and fill the glass. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Lift your dreams and fill the glass. That was God's broadcast. That was God's broadcast. Time to embrace the peace. Time to embrace the peace. Time to embrace the peace.